Hello, Copenhagen. I hope you're enjoying the conference. I am Saturn, and I am thrilled to be presenting my work on conlanging software. Some relevant details about me. I am not a professional software developer. I am self-taught in Python, the web languages, Rust-ish, and F#. At no point did I sit down and think, I'm going to learn all these things now. I picked them up as needed in order to achieve specific goals that I had in mind. My point is that anybody can do this. I have been conlanging for about 10 years now, and that's if we include the early terrible ones. Before I start talking about Lexicanter, I want to talk about what drove me to subject myself to JavaScript in the first place. I used a lot of other documentation methods for the first several years of my conlanging journey. Pen and paper, my phone's notes app, a few different spreadsheet software options, a few different word processors, and even pre-existing dedicated conlanging software for a while. That includes like Polyglot and Vulgarlang. All of these had problems for me. By themselves, these problems were surmountable or ignorable until I started thinking, but there must be a better way to do this. Eventually, that thought, coupled with a rare spark of motivation a few years ago, drove me to try and just do it myself. Before we move on, I need to address the elephant in the room. Spreadsheets are kind of terrible. I will die on this hill. Spreadsheets work, but only because spreadsheets are general purpose enough to work for anything at all. They are not particularly well suited for conlang documentation. I don't want to go on about spreadsheets over long, but to give you some idea, my gripes with spreadsheets include that they are difficult to keep well organized, difficult to index and find things in once they get enormous, difficult to convert to another format, and difficult to present to other people in a coherent way, and they're difficult to set up in a way that will work for a language long term. They are too unstructured. So we've decided on starting from scratch and designing our own conlanging documentation method from the ground up. Let's talk about design goals. Firstly, I want to be able to do everything quickly and with minimal friction. I want everything to be organized, but I don't want to have to manually organize everything myself. I don't want the software to force me to make a cookie cutter language, because being forced into a specific mold is a big reason I disliked other conlang software that I tried. I want the freedom to be creative with how languages work, what they contain, what they don't contain. On the other hand, we need some sane defaults. I think, for example, it's fair to assume that I want a dedicated space for the lexicon, separate from a dedicated space for, like, the grammar. This means that we have some conflicting design goals, and that means that a perfect solution is literally unattainable. Just keep that in mind going forward. Scope is hard. At first, what I wanted was a place where I could draft new words and enter them into a lexicon that would sort itself and could be searched by combinations of word and definition. I also figured I could write a script that would let me write simple conversion rules that would transform my regular romanizations into IPA transcription. And then I also wanted to be able to export this lexicon to like all other formats, including like CSV, plain text, rich text formats. I wanted to be mobile. That was the original purpose of Lexicanter, which was for lexicon decanting. It was intended at first for this much narrower scope. The first iteration was a simple GUI written up in Python, and that was the only language that I knew at the time. Modern Lexicanter is a lot more complex. I have some lines in the sand. I want this tool to be accessible to as many people as possible, and at no cost. But I think that for my own sanity, it's important to maintain this perspective that it's something that I do for myself. I could talk about feature creep and user requests, but for now, let it be known that developing and maintaining software like this is a lot of work. It's something that people do as a full-time job, and I do it as a hobby. I can't really afford to think of it as anything more than that, and I have to reel myself in when I do find myself just committing more time to it than my life will actually allow. So my implementation looks something like this. After you install the app and load it for the first time, you're presented with the lexicon editing window. It's made up of these three panels, and this ribbon across the top for the other tabs. The left panel has fields for entering new words into the lexicon, the top panel has your alphabetization settings, and the large panel taking up most of the space is where the actual lexicon is displayed and can be searched through. In short, as soon as you open the app, you can get right into making words. At the moment, 2.3.0 is available as a desktop app on macOS, Linux, and Windows. Um, for, by default, it looks very similar to that early Python prototype, although for years now it has been built on Electron, implemented in TypeScript, uh, some parts in Rust, and all of the UI is done with Svelte. It's not a developer conference, and I won't get into the finer technical details of how and why to choose your programming language and development toolkit. I honestly don't think it matters in the grand scheme of things. If I could go back, I would do things differently, but that would always be true. Things change, and you are always learning, so don't overthink it too much. I'm not going to go over all of the default tabs, but here are a couple of examples. You have this etymology tab for keeping track of, etymology. And there's this documentation tab that I intend for documenting anything that you would have to write out, grammar and phonology and things. As shown in this screenshot submitted by a user, the basic lexicon layout is quite serviceable even after the user fills in and customizes their language and app to a considerable degree. But we can go a lot further than this. Let's talk about modularity. I promised no cookie cutter language maker, and the way that I attempt to achieve this is through modularity. I attempt to provide lots of pieces and give the user the freedom to assemble them any which way. The default tab layouts can be swapped out for a completely different layout style, in which the user can arrange any panel from any tab in the window any way they like, and they can save and load their layouts. Even if the user doesn't go as far as designing layouts themselves, whole tabs can be turned on and off, and there are lots of things within each panel that can be configured in different ways. Modular layouts give the user full control over the simplicity or complexity of their experience and workflow. Lexicanter can be a reference book for writing translations, aligned with the original purpose quite a lot. Or it can be a lathe for refining dialect variation, or it can be a desk for writing detailed language learning guides, or it can be a Boeing 747 cockpit if you're that ADHD. Lexicon entries themselves are quite modular. You can have custom orthographies, dialects, pronunciations, inflection tables, etymologies, senses, and fully user-defined tags that make a wide remit of organizational paradigms possible. Users differ wildly in how detailed they like to be. Here's one that has a Futhark orthography setup and is very descriptive of tags. And there are also integrations with other free open source software by other members in the community. Graphemy by Juriel allows users to create neographies, which would be hard or impossible to design as typefaces. And on that note, I want to talk briefly about conlanging and community with respect to all of this. We conlangers are an archipelago. Yes, there are the big hub communities, and yes, there is this lovely language creation society and this wonderful conference, but for the most part, conlangers as a whole are made up mostly of small groups, little alcoves and pockets and niches, networked to one another. We are nothing if not diverse, neurologically and otherwise. When I started working on Lexicanter, I did not expect or intend to become a host of one such island. My Discord server initially existed as a place for me to post my to-do list, and then also as a place for people to report bugs and ask for technical assistance. Over time it grew. It's not huge, not a hub, but with over 200 members and a consistent crew of regulars, community is a label it has earned. And I am honored to be its host. I have met a lot of great people and made close friends. I got to meet some of you at LCC12 last year. Without their encouragement, this presentation wouldn't have happened. College imposter syndrome, but I did not see myself as qualified to give a talk. I also have to shout out Juriel, who has committed countless hours to making his own conlanger-oriented free open source software and helping me figure out how to integrate his tools into my own software. And he's just generally a really awesome person. Also Mars, who was there from the first, helped compile the Windows versions in those early days, has contributed design pointers, feature ideas, color themes, and has helped moderate the Discord community ever since those first days. And with all that said, thank you, LCC12. I hope you enjoy the rest of the conference.